Howdy, how y'all doing today? My name is Dennis Jones, and you're with me at the Bryan Museum. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Texas and Texas history. Everything in this museum has a story to tell, and I'm going to help you learn some of those stories and maybe discover some stuff about your own self that you never really knew. Why don't you follow me this way? So you want to come to Texas, huh? Well, let's talk about water. That's one of the things that you're going to need to bring with you. What? No, water's everywhere. I want you to tell me where in the world you would go right now to get a drink of water if you didn't have a bottle of water somewhere. That mud puddle out in the driveway, are you going to drink out of that? Well, probably if you were thirsty enough you would, but probably you'd also be a little reluctant to do so. You're coming to Texas. You need to plan your trip from waterhole to waterhole. You need to go from one place where there's water to another place where there's water, to another place where there's water, to another place where there's water. Because without water, you die. 3 days, you're gone. You can go without food for almost a month. But water, that's another matter entirely. Suddenly that mud puddle over there doesn't look so bad, does it? So in a lot of cases, what you'd have to do is carry your water with you. Makes sense. As you can see before me, I've got quite a few different kinds of containers. These aren't all the kind of containers that you could carry water in. These are certainly some of them. And they're generally called canteens. Various sizes and shapes. But before we talk specifically about canteens, let's talk about how much water do you need to live each day? You're going to be traveling in your wagon or on horseback. Let's say you have a whole family. You've got cattle to feed. You've got cattle to water, cows to water, oxen to water, horses to water, your children to water, you to water. You got to cook with water. It takes a lot of water to get from point A to point B. You have to carry that water with you. Every time you pass a water hole, if you're carrying a canteen, you're going to stop and fill it up. Are you going to say, is that water contaminated? You don't know anything about contaminated water aside from the fact that it might look bad or stink. If it doesn't look bad or stink, it's not contaminated to you in the 1820s and 30s. So you'll fill your canteen with it and you'll drink. Let's talk about some different types of canteens here. This particular canteen is made from leather. This is leather sewn together, and then you fill it with water, right? Yeah. But you also have to treat the inside of it with beeswax and brewer's pitch, which is the pine sap that you get from pine trees. And then suddenly you have a canteen that will hold water. If you actually break this somehow by crashing the canteen, then you're going to have to refit it. But this is a leather canteen. You might carry something like that. That doesn't seem like a lot of water. It's really not. Maybe a quart, I would guess. But it might get you by. It might get you by. This is a canteen that's made of metal, and then it's wrapped in a cloth. One of the reasons that you'd wrap a metal canteen, or really any canteen, in cloth is because if you wet the outside of it, the evaporation that occurs here keeps the water cool, or cools the water, as a matter of fact. So you could put your water in the cloth canteen and carry it. I wouldn't trust that to get me very far, to be honest with you, especially in the Texas heat. A lot of people had coopers, or coopers are people that make barrels. A lot of people would have their coopers make them a wooden canteen. This one is made of oak. And if you fill this canteen with water, the wood will swell up and hopefully seal it completely. But likely as not, you'd put beeswax and brewer's pitch inside this as well to waterproof it. If you ever let this canteen dry out, it's going to leak. So you don't want that to happen. This is a little brown jug. And you can carry water in it. Usually people carry a lot of other things in it as well. But one of the things that I want you to notice is, you know what that is? That's a corn cob. And corn cob is going to be used as a stopper. Well, we could talk all day about what you can do with corn and corn cobs. This is a gourd. A gourd is like a pumpkin, but you can't eat it. And once they get dry, then you can hollow it out and fill it with brewer's pitch and beeswax, and then suddenly you have a natural born, natural grown canteen. I have another one here. Excuse me. This is another gourd. And when I go on my forays watching birds and animals in the wild, likely as not, I'll carry this. What do you guys carry? Oh, that's right. You carry this big plastic bottle that is going to end up in the ocean. Not me. I use this one over and over and over. So there's your gourd. That's a good canteen as well. If you come to Texas, or if you're out on the prairies or the plains, whether you're coming to Texas or whether you've been here for a while, you and your animal are going to need water. But these are some of the kind of containers that you would use. Aside from this metal one here, you could see that those are materials that the average person coming to Texas could make themselves. When you came to Texas, it was like going to the moon. If you didn't bring it with you, or you couldn't make it, you don't have it.